this weekend, one of my complaints about college football through the years is that there are not enough big games. So when people freaked out about the college football playoff, going to 12 or 14 games, my takeaway is the schedules will get better. You can lose. Texas lost. They're still, in my opinion, an overwhelming favorite to make the playoff. Clemson lost at home close to LSU. I still think they'll make the playoff. And to talk about weekend one, including Bill Belichick's dud, Joel Klatt, the voice of college football, is joining us on the herd.
What's up, dude?
It is great to see you.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. J-Mac and I talked about this earlier, that there's this sense that, hey, the hype for Arch Manning was great, and I would say the hype for Caleb Williams at SC was insane.
Yeah.
Quinn Ewers, 5-star high school. The hype at the big programs for star quarterbacks is always huge.
Yeah.
There are no Ohio State quarterbacks that don't have to win openers, especially at home. So I think the criticism, it wasn't that he lost. It's what it looked like.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And listen, he did not play well. I was surprised at the inaccuracy.
Same.
I thought that he would be more accurate. But I will say, listen, in hindsight, he had never thrown a college pass outside of Austin. And so starting on the road is hard, much less against Ohio State and that environment and a defense that, I got to tell you, Colin, their ability to change looks, confuse the offensive line.
Was amazing.
It was fantastic. Matt Patricia deserves a ton of credit for what happened in that game. And I would say this, there was some of those new starters for Ohio State that came out there and played better than the guys that left. Like Jermaine Matthews at corner was sensational. Arvell Reese, the linebacker, looks like he's going to be a dominant player at the second level.
Ohio State probably has the best corners in the country.
Yeah, I think Igbinosun played really well. And then Jermaine Matthews on the other side looks like I was actually, on Thursday night, I was with Lathan Ransom, who was a safety last year, won a national championship, really good player, has done a nice job in camp in the NFL. And I was just talking to him, and I asked him, I said, hey, of the young guys, who do you think is ready to be in Ohio State, a silver bullet, as they say, part of the brotherhood? And he said, I was just at practice, and he said, I think Jermaine Matthews might be the best corner that I've seen on the practice field in a long time. And that's from a guy that's been on the practice field. He's seen it at Ohio State, and he certainly played that way, speaking of Jermaine Matthews. But back to Arch really quickly, I think that what we failed to realize was just how big the stage was going to be, in particular that opponent. And because of that, I'm really not worried about Arch in Texas. I really am not.
So I'll give you an example. So NFL guys, Belichick's kid coached at Washington defensive side last year. The Huskies in the Big Ten were number 2 against the pass and number 16 or 17 against the run. And the reason I mention that is NFL defensive coordinators, you have to be good against the pass.
Have to, yeah.
At college, stop the run. You may only face one great quarterback a year. So Matt Patricia is dialing up stuff that is trying to flummox in his career. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So my take is Arch saw defensive coverages and schemes that will far surpass perhaps anything he'll see the rest of the year. That is not a knock on the SEC. But Matt Patricia from Belichick is designing NFL coordinators. You got to stop the pass.
Yes.
Right? You have
to. I would agree
to.
with that. And I mean, that played out in the numbers, by the way. Texas ran it okay. And
should have run it more with him.
Maybe should have run it more with Arch and used his athleticism. Sark actually even mentioned exactly what you're talking about in a different way after the game when he was asked about the struggles offensively and more specifically Arch's struggles. And he said, listen, Ohio State's ability to disguise coverage wasn't just good, it was elite in the first half.
Arch looked confused.
Of course. I mean, his last start was against Mississippi State at home way back early last year, and Mississippi State was the worst team in the SEC. So the jump in competition of what he saw was massive.
Okay, so I thought Ryan Day smartly and appropriately got conservative after the first 2 drives. He sat and looked at Arch's feet and his mechanics, and he got on that headset and said, guys, we got bad field position. Let's just play the field position game. we're going to win this game. I thought Julian Sayin, and J-Mac pushed back yesterday. His numbers weren't great. He had a couple of drops. He had bad field position.
Don't tell me J-Mac went stat sheet on you.
He did.
Ugh.
Data guy. All I know is this.
Analytics guy over here in the corner.
My eyes told me.
What are we doing?
I thought he was really comfortable.
Julian was incredibly comfortable and very solid. And they even said to Jenny after the game and then in his post-game press conferences that they intentionally played it safe and could have opened it up. This is the scary part about Ohio State. If you're the rest of the Big Ten right now, and maybe even the rest of the country, not only did the defense look as good or better, in particular in the secondary, but the offense didn't have to do anything to go beat Texas. Yeah. That was the most conservative offensive game plan that you will see the rest of the year for Ohio State. Yeah, and they won the game against Texas.
Yeah, and by the way, they're going to do this year because Matt Patricia is going to really limit what teams can do between Ohio State secondary and Matt Patricia. They're very lucky. This is a year you can get away with an inexperienced quarterback.
I think so too.
I got great corners. I got Ohio State linebackers, and I got the best defensive coordinator probably in the sport.
I think both teams just saw the best defense they'll face all year. Because Texas's defense is an elite defense. And so even the struggles in the run game, I think that Ohio State will be able to run it a little bit more. But to your point about, just to go back to Julian Sayin for a moment, he looked very poised and hyper accurate. Even his numbers, stat sheet guy over here, he wants to blame this. How about the drops? Claire had a drop. Smith had two drops. Ennis dropped a beautiful ball down the sideline that would have increased.
Had terrible field position after they stopped the push.
Bad field position. As when I watch a guy like Julian Sayin, here's what I'm looking for. Like, how long did it take him to deliver the ball? Was he holding it? No, he wasn't.
Nope.
Where were his eyes? Was he scanning the entire field? No, his eyes were going to the exact right spot, right off the
velocity.
Snap. The velocity was there. The accuracy was there.
Yeah,
even when he didn't throw it to Smith on that 4th and 1, the ball he did throw to Max Clare was right on the money, and Claire just dropped it. That would have extended that drive. So I think if you're Ryan Day and Ohio State, you feel really good, not just because you got the win, but the two things that you were wondering about. How is this Patricia marriage going to work out? Well, excellent.
Yeah.
In particular with Caleb Downs at safety and his knowledge and ability at safety. And then your young quarterback went out there in a giant stage against the best defense that he's going to face all year long and played really solid football.
Yeah, I know Michigan fans are feeling great about themselves. I didn't like what they looked like. I think Bryce Underwood's insanely talented.
I was impressed with Bryce.
No, he's the real deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he's really good. I got questions about Michigan. I don't have any about Ohio State. So I've always said I'm a guy that's about substance.
Are you?
In my house, they call me a mason. I'm laying bricks every day. Old beach volleyball guy over
building
here.
Foundations over here.
I'm out here. I am.
Don't give me stat sheets. I want to see tangible evidence.
That's right. But I like Miami. I like a little sizzle with my steak, and I think college football. I found myself.
So wait, which one are you? Are you substance or
sizzle?
That's
what I'm saying.
You just told me two different things. Wait, time out. What's happening?
That doesn't mean I can't unbutton this puppy one more button and let my hair down a little.
Get a little aggressive with the chest hair?
I found myself rooting for Miami.
Did you?
I found myself pulling for Miami.
It was a fun game to watch. I'll tell you this. I thought that the ACC in general, with the way Miami looked and the way that Florida State looked. And here's what I thought was the biggest revelation from the Notre Dame-Miami game is that Notre Dame didn't make the dumb mistake in terms of game management. Right. They went out there and they made the plays necessary, and Carson Beck looked really good last year. Let's not forget now. Let's take Carson Beck for a moment. Carson Beck last year, did he play great? No, he didn't. Then he had the elbow injury, which I was concerned about just because it's a tough elbow injury. So you're wanting to see his accuracy and his velocity. I thought it was really solid. And then you get the sense, too, it's like, hey, let's remember, Georgia's wide receivers were terrible. They led the country in drops last year, and a lot of the blame went to Carson Beck, and it shouldn't have. He shouldered a lot of the blame for the way Georgia played offensively. And really, it was more about the guys around him. And that was evident on Sunday night, I guess it was, when he was playing against Notre Dame. Again, I don't have many questions about both of those teams. Notre Dame is really good.
Well, these are both playoff teams. No, C.J. Carr. No, they're both playoff teams. The difference is Notre Dame, Miami's offensive front.
They were good.
Yeah, like Penn State good. Like shut Notre Dame down.
Mario Cristobal has built up those lines of scrimmage. And
Big time.
They played incredible, I thought, on both sides. And so just think, let's pull back for a moment in the ACC. Let's just take a quick overview of the ACC. Even though Clemson lost, I still think, like, okay, that's still a really good team. That was a great game Saturday night.
Florida State dominates.
Florida State, all of a sudden, are they back? Yeah, probably. The way that they look, the marriage between Gus Malzahn and Castellanos, their quarterback, that looks fantastic. And then now you have to think to yourself, is Miami actually leveling up? Are they actually going to do what we think that they should be doing after the way that they've built their roster over the last couple of years? If they start winning these types of games, all of a sudden, Miami is a bona fide ACC contender, playoff contender.
Now Miami's schedule is a little tricky. They got Florida's. They got Florida. That schedule suddenly is a lot harder than it looked before that Notre Dame game. Those Florida schools may be better than we think.
I totally agree with you.
Yep.
And yet, I would say, like, let's give Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame. That could be the better team, of the Florida and Florida State. Like, they just beat Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is no slouch. There's no doubt.
Okay. Again, I find.
Wait. Well, I need to be ready. Is this substance or sizzle? What should I be prepared for?
A mason can occasionally jump on a speedboat. You can do both. A plumber can drive an occasional convertible.
Can he? Interesting.
I may be masonry 24/7, but occasionally I like to have a little fun.
All right, let's go.
Bill Belichick, and it's a cautionary tale in life. If you want to grow, don't seek comfort. I got 3 Belichicks. I got 2 Lombardis. I got girlfriends in the program. Jamie Collins played with him, never coached. This staff is a staff that is comfortable for Bill. It's familiar faces and familiar voices, and it's friends and it's allies, and that's fine. But that's not what is working with Andy Reid in Kansas City. He doesn't always have to love Eric Bieniemy. He can disagree with Spags. I find this Carolina thing about Bill is this staff did not, the longer they played, the worse Carolina, like they had their first offensive drive was all they had.
I think that's too much.
You think that's overheated?
I think it is. I think it's an overreaction.
Too many kids on the staff.
I think he had too many new players.
Yeah, okay.
He had 70 new players.
I mean, that game, they did nothing well.
I mean, the first series, they go down and score.
Oh, 6 plays, 7 plays. I mean, come on, you got to do better than that.
I totally understand. And listen,
look at these. There's nobody there.
The things that they struggled with, in a lot of ways, are fixable. Okay, like being gap sound on defense, that's fixable. Quarterback making a terrible decision on that out route that leads to the pick 6. Those are things. And here's the other part of this is that I don't think that there's going to be a lineup that will change more from week 1 to week 2, week 2 to week 3 than North Carolina, because he's going to evaluate the film and he's not going to just say, like, well, we got to play this kid because he's been in the program. And so I'm not going to push the panic button on North Carolina, because the expectation for North Carolina was never going to be that they were going to be great right away.
But it wasn't to get humiliated.
I know, but TCU is a really good team. Josh Hoover threw for over 300 yards a game last year.
No.
TCU was a 9-win team.
But you're on the road. I saw road quarterbacks disintegrate. He ate them alive.
I saw young quarterbacks disintegrate, not just road quarterbacks disintegrate. I think that the biggest tell for whether a guy will play well is experience, and Hoover has the experience. Listen, I'm not trying to say North Carolina is going to be great, but if you look at their schedule, the 2 toughest games are clearly Clemson later and this TCU game. This was the second best team they're going to face all year long. They have to do it week 1 with 70 new players. It's going to look a lot better. I mean, they're going to look better against Charlotte and Richmond and UCF, Cal. I mean, that is not a daunting schedule. I still think that they can get to 5 or 6 wins.
I don't think I'm being unfair.
But what's your expectation? That's my question. If you're not being unfair, what were you expecting them to win 9 games? Well, then, yeah, they're going to fall short of that. I was expecting them
to be competitive. I thought TCU would win the game. I told J-Mac this. I thought TCU would win. 18 starters, better staff. But
don't you get what I'm trying to say? If you think they were going to be competitive with TCU, then you're telling me that you expect them to win 9 games this year. Well, I think that's an outlandish expectation for what they are.
By the way, I don't think
this is not Deion, by the way, in his first year, who had Shedeur and Travis Hunter, and they had real talent. They're trying to build this from scratch. So I'm gonna wait and see.
For the
Bill
record,
Belichick.
I don't think I'm unfair when I bring up, Belichick's got kids and Lombardi's kids. This is why I'm not being fair. I've seen general managers in the NFL not allow their coaches. John Snyder had a problem with Pete Carroll and his son. He didn't want him as a scout. Pete put him on the staff. That was a fissure in the relationship. Years ago, Marty Schottenheimer wanted to put his son on, and I think the GM was A.J. Smith. I don't think I'm taking a shot here. When you start putting your kids on the staff, sometimes it works. Owners and GMs are very reluctant to do that. They push back.
Fair.
I think I'm being totally fair on that.
I think that's fair. I'm not going to throw dirt on this one yet. Because, again, I think that this was a perfect storm of the wrong opponent at the wrong time for this team. This team is likely to be the team that develops the most from week 1 to week 6 or 7 in this season. And so, and again, with that schedule, if you were expecting them to look competent and be in a close game and a competitive game, that means you're telling me that they were going to win 9 games this year. I just don't think that it was that roster.
All right.
I mean, you walked me into that a few years ago. I remember I said Nick Saban. I was like, Alabama's got a Nick Saban problem. I'm not going to do that to Bill Belichick.
Let me ask you this.
I'm not going to do it. You remember that? You remember that? Yeah. I still hear about it. Bama fans still bring that up. How you doing now, Bama?
Yeah, Bama, I'd zip it. Let me tell you something. I got into this discussion. Who was I talking to about this? Oh, my buddy John Middlecoff said, the South is different. The intensity of SEC football is different, even than Big Ten, and they love Big Ten football. But
in what way? Crowd environment or play?
I mean, it is. In Chicago, they love Big Ten football. They talk Cubs, they talk Bears. In the South, there is one.
Fans.
I'm talking about there is one topic in the South for 12 months. It's SEC football.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And it is. They judge recruiting. That is 12 days of sports talk. The columnists. Is Kalen DeBoer potentially the wrong personality fit? In fact,
maybe
when there was a story out this 2 weeks ago that when people went to that Washington team with Penix and they went and they kind of scouted the staff, everybody said, boy, you got a mate here. There's no pressure. And Washington loves their football.
Yeah.
I've watched Jim McElwain, a friend of mine, goes down to Florida. Urban Meyer, physically worn out at Florida, goes, get me up north. I don't know if Kalen DeBoer is built for Bama and the SEC. And I think Bama, even more than Georgia, is the pressure cooker.
I think Kalen is an excellent coach. His record speaks for itself.
I agree.
To your point about fit, I think that there could be something to that because it is a different animal. And in particular there, and more specifically with who he's replacing, right? I mean, this is a no-win for Kalen DeBoer. That being said, here's the alarming part about what happened on Saturday. Is that Alabama rolled out there. It's not like they turned it over 5 or 6 times and ended up getting beat.
They couldn't run the ball.
They were the team that got beat physically. They got beat schematically. They were the team that got beat by speed. They were the slower team. And here's the one that really shocked me. Where was the effort?
There's some pieces of video out there that are alarming.
For 16 years, that team had a top 3 or 4 roster in the sport. And they played with a sense of urgency that was unlike any other team. They played like their life depended on it. Like they were, like their next breath of air depended on their effort. Part of that was the competition built into the roster because they knew if they didn't do that, the kid behind them was just as good and would take their spot. And the other part of that was the level of expectation surrounding practice and preparation for the week. Here's where I think that Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer differ the most is the urgency during the week. I think Kalen approaches it a little bit more West Coast NFL style. Hey, take care of your business. We trust our plan. We trust our quality players. Let's go out there and put it on display. And when he's got experienced guys and a quality offensive line like he had with Washington and Penix, with Roma Dunze on the outside and those quality players, man, it's beautiful. And it works really, really well. Now, when he doesn't have that and the offensive line, which is supposed to be good, starts getting decimated and a young quarterback that doesn't have the confidence is running for his life, plus the game plan is wrong. Did you know that Ryan Williams spent 90% of his snaps in the slot? Last year, it was 20% of his snaps. He is an outside receiver and a beautiful outside receiver. When he's in space, operating in one-on-ones.
Second best talent receiver in the country after Jeremiah Smith.
I totally agree with that. And they were putting him in the slot, and he's not a slot guy. All right? He's not Tyreek in the slot or Jackson Smith and Jigba in the slot where his game is about shiftiness and short area quickness. He's also not a guy like Jeremiah Smith who's 6'4", 220 pounds, who can go across the middle, and he's not going to get punished by safeties. No. He's a guy that doesn't have that short area quickness. He's a fluid, straight line, beautiful route runner wide receiver, and he was getting punished by those safeties to the point that he can't finish the game. So the game plan was wrong. The offensive line was terrible. The young quarterback was overwhelmed. Their effort was bad. They were out-physicaled. Their defense was bad. They couldn't stop the run. Where does Alabama go? If I'm not panicked about Texas, I am panicked to 10 for Alabama because now all of a sudden that Alabama team is just a shell of its former self.
By the way, I'm going to take Oklahoma over Michigan this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I replacing Jim Harbaugh is difficult, and
Certainly.
And we have to be honest about this. I know we have.
You're America's honesty broker.
Well, I think most people view that as true.
Do they?
If you look at the history of Michigan and Notre Dame, or Michigan and Ohio State, and this gets people all rankled up because they love me in Ann Arbor. I am one of them. Didn't go to the school, fly over it regularly, never went there. They love me. And I have said Ohio State's the better football program.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Michigan's got the better medical center. It's got the better law school. Michigan's the better university.
Wins, right?
Right. But Ohio State is the only SEC team north. The fans, the talk, the relentlessness, the commitment.
Ohio State, more than that. Ohio State has never had a sustained dip. You know, like they have been great for 25 or 30 years.
So I'm going to throw this out, and this may hurt one of the new guys that they hired on your show in the afternoon. I think Ohio State's going to own this series for the next 10 years.
Well, it's hard to say when they're 0-4 in their last four.
It's not hard for this honesty broker.
Isn't it?
Ohio State is going to run that series for a decade.
Okay. I mean, Michigan would beg to differ at this point. Here's the thing with this week's game for Michigan is let's go back to where we started this entire conversation. What's the one thing that we overlooked with Arch Manning? Playing on the road in a difficult environment for the first time is incredibly hard. You don't know what you don't know as a young quarterback. I can tell you from firsthand. I remember vividly my first start on the road. It was at Kansas State in 2003, and that was a Kansas State team coached by Bill Snyder that would go on to win the Big 12. And
how'd you do?
We lost. And
how'd you do?
I did not play well, and I did a lot of things that were uncharacteristic. I set 3 formations wrong. I went the wrong way on a run play just because you're dealing with emotions and you're dealing with things and adrenaline that you've never dealt with before on the football field. And that's something that Bryce Underwood is going to have to deal with this week when he goes to Oklahoma. And that environment is going to be outstanding. Plus, he's not going to see some vanilla New Mexico defense. He's going to see Brent Venables' defense on the other side, which is aggressive. They'll change their looks. They get the call in late. It's not going to be clean pictures. So if Michigan can't just run the football at Oklahoma, then it could be difficult because I do know one thing about Michigan's offensive line. They're elite run blockers, average pass blockers. If they fall behind at all and Venables and that crowd and that pressure starts getting ratcheted up, then Bryce Underwood might be under a lot of duress come Saturday night.
By the way, Underwood's great.
I
no doubt.
That.
And the kid at USC, the freshman.
He looked good too.
Yeah, he's good. I'm not doubting the player.
Play?
It was a school
Missouri
that
State?
doesn't have a rich history, but is on their way. It was, you know, you didn't ask me about my first start.
I'm sorry. Colin, what was your first start?
I didn't play college football.
Oh, okay.
I was already becoming a beacon of honesty as a broadcaster at Eastern Washington.
That's right.
Yeah. There were opportunities, but I chose broadcasting.
Well,
and you eventually
chose correctly.
We ended up at the same place.
Yes, we did. Well, and you're on the throne.
Look at this new set.
This is a beautiful set.
It really is. It's a lot. It's a lot of management. It's a lot of pressure. And unlike Arch Manning, I'm hitting the layup so far.
You are. Well, your experience, not your first rodeo.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here. College football on Fox.